What is going on, you legends? So, I've coached over 80 people who have had nothing and tried lots of strategies. Say for the past 2 years, I have been figuring out exactly why beginners cannot make it more than just a few sales in dropshipping. And it all boils down to just a few things. And so, by the end of this video, what I want you to have is the knowledge of how to take those few sales and actually turn them into more sales, turn it into a store that you can start printing with and make money with. Or if you haven't started yet, how to actually go into dropshipping and have a really good hit rate, because I find that most of the products I test, they end up succeeding, and it's nothing to do with the actual product itself. It's more about what I'm doing with that product, how I go about finding that product and the audience, because most people in this space now are failing at dropshipping. And so I've been in this for 3 years, and so I know exactly what people are doing and what people need to change. From the people that I've spoken to in the past, based on their previous experiences, 90% of them have literally quit within 3 months because they made a few sales and they can't make it work. And in their mind, they think, well, it's the model that's broken. Dropshipping just doesn't work. It's usually down to the fact that they didn't even know what they were selling. They didn't really know who the audience was, who they were talking to in their ads. They had no clue, any of that. And so they went into this blindly, testing a product, which most people say to do. In reality, there is so many dimensions within testing just a product, because you're testing audiences, you're testing sophistication levels, and you don't even realize what you're doing. And so throwing it up on an ad is going to be the result of nothing, because you're just guessing. As I said, it's not because the model is actually dead. The model isn't dead at all. I mean, look, I've got students who've made 280K in a couple of months. And so, yeah, the model isn't dead. It's like just the strategy which you are using. And so if you know what to do, you can 100% be sure that you can succeed. Usually, if you go and watch these other YouTube videos, a lot of the gurus are selling you a dream that actually just expired in 2021. A lot of people are saying, look, I can launch a product and I can make it work in 2 days or 3 days or even a week or 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. It's just gambling, because you're relying on the product without understanding the reason behind why the product is actually going to sell for you. You know, in 2021, you could find a product, run a very basic ad with any product like a fidget spinner. The market was so, unsophisticated. There was nobody who had seen a fidget spinner before. So as soon as you ran an ad to that persona, they just saw it and just bought it. But the window is obviously now closed. It's not as easy as it was before, as just throwing stuff and hoping that it hits. Now, you're going to waste a lot of money if you follow this failing cycle. So you find a product, you spend £100, £200 testing the ads, like most people tell you to do, nothing works. Then you just find another product, you make a new store, you waste a bunch of time literally redesigning the whole store, trying a completely different niche, setting up a whole new pixel, and then you spend another £200. You've just wasted, £400. You make nothing, or maybe you make a couple of sales. Even worst case scenario, you make a couple of sales and then you quit. But you literally had no understanding to where those sales came from or who you were targeting when you were actually making these ads, and you were just hoping that something hits. And that is the worst thing that you can do. So simply put, it is not a business and it is just gambling. And so what you need to do is shift your mindset from drop shipping to e-commerce. Most people ask, what product should I test, or what spy tool should I look on for my products? But the question you should actually be asking is, who am I selling to? And before you even sell the product, what does this audience want before I find this product? What are they afraid of? What keeps them up at night? And if you answer these things, you can literally find a product that solves a problem for an audience that don't really have a solution yet. They don't really know the product. And so you've done the research already. So you don't need to be guessing what product to sell or guessing based on all the data. You can just know what to sell before you sell it. And even if you are selling a product right now, do a bit of research and you will find so many different stories from different people, different customers that you could target. Right? If you just do a test, look on Reddit and have a look, you're going to find so many audiences that you could sell to. Try to sell to those audiences and just see, because you're going to see that one of those audiences is going to pick up and spend. Maybe you get a few sales, but even if it picks up and spend, it means that it was better than what you were trying to do in the first place. Because if you're set for purchases and they're Meta ads, obviously Meta is going to try and get you conversions. So if something overtakes spend, it means that angle is going to be working the best, so you should double down on it. Most dropshipping products that you find on AliExpress or from a private supplier, whatever you do, these people have already been sold to like 100 times. Whether it be your product, it doesn't matter. They have tried different solutions. They have tried different products very similar to yours, unless you find something that is brand new, which is unlikely. And so it's actually the group of the audience that you're looking for, rather than just going after that same thing. I mean, I've gone over it in my previous YouTube video where I showed an AI ad of a height increasing trainer, and everyone was saying, look, get more compliments, get more this, get more that. And I basically created that ad based on the research that I did, and none of the brands were targeting this angle. And it was just guys who had a corporate job. They wanted to increase their height so that they could get a promotion because they felt like without being tall, they couldn't get a promotion. So I crafted that ad around that persona because I did the research, and nobody's probably targeting this avatar for this height increasing trainer. So your customer has already been sold to. You just need to figure out a way to sell them something new, which might be better for them. What this is called is market sophistication. And everybody on YouTube, for some reason, nobody talks about this. You go and read the books in bloody 1950, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, and he goes through market sophistication. So everybody's treating dropshipping like you're testing products, and it's like a video game. But what you're doing is you're getting better at marketing. And it's so, so important. So understand a little thing called market sophistication, and you'll be ahead of so, so many people. So a level 1 market has never heard of your claim. A level 5 market has had every single version of that claim. And in 2026, most niches are going to be level 3, 4, or 5 because, every product pretty much has been ran unless you come up with something completely unique or find a completely new audience. You can't run a level 1 ad to a level 5 market and just expect it to work. That, for example, that height increasing trainer, if I were to go and just say, look, get more compliments, of course, that's not going to work because that market has already heard that a million times. They've already heard that claim. So what does the 1% actually do? I've invested over 100K in mentoring myself personally. I've learned dropshipping. I've learned how to do e-commerce, and I have figured out what the 1% do completely different. So what they do is they don't test more products. It's not what we do. You understand the customer before they test a single thing. Most people find the product, then they try and find the customer. But you want to find the customer before even finding the product. And then you build something that the customer feels was specifically made for that person. Simple. And when you stop dropshipping and you transition into, this is an e-commerce brand, you treat your website better, you spend a little bit more time on it, and then you test different angles within your ads, and you understand that dropshipping is just the fulfillment method. E-commerce is you're building a business. It becomes a lot easier because you understand that, okay, I have to do a bit of learning here. I have to do a bit more testing. I can't be lazy with this. I can't just copy and paste. Don't get me wrong, copy and pasting used to work. It used to work bloody great, 100%. And sometimes it still does work. But how are you going to build a sustainable business, quit your job, be making 50K profit a month, every single month consistently, and have a brand if you are simply copy and pasting? It's not going to work. You need to build a brand. Here's an example. So same product, completely different business. These guys, they're treating this like it's a complete dropshipping store. They found a product probably that they found on the Facebook ads library, and they looked exactly at what that person was doing specifically. And they said, right, I'm going to rip this completely word for word. So they went for a seat cushion for old people. Now, when these seat cushions first came out dropshipping 3-4 years ago, everybody was targeting old people. It was the easiest one to do it for. But these guys have just tried to make a little different mechanism to the same audience. And I don't think it's strong enough in order to really penetrate that market and have a consistent brand generating consistent results. You do have a strong audience. Don't get me wrong. Seniors, they have good purchasing power, 100%. But the market have been sold to a million times with these cushions. So you have to do a fucking good job at selling that customer because they are at like level 4, level 5. But this is what I mean. So then you have this brand that sells a pretty much the same product, but they've rebranded it to a travel cushion. So you can scrunch it up, put it in your bag, and take it traveling with you. And they target people who live in America, who don't want to travel 12 hours on a rock hard seat to Europe. Just use a travel cushion. They target that audience. So the audience is bloody strong because they haven't really been sold too much for these types of products. In fact, they might have not been sold too much at all. And so the market is super open, that nobody's really selling this product in this way to this audience. And so of course they're going to be like, right, this is the brand for that because nobody else is selling a travel cushion. Even if you go type in travel cushion, you're likely not going to find a seat cushion specifically made for traveling. And that's where this person gets the edge. You find the angle, and then, you add free gifts based on that angle. But when you're just drop shipping and you're just focusing on drop shipping and the product itself, a lot of the time you're just competing on price. So you try to lower the price, you try to bring it down loads because that's what your competition are doing, because you're targeting the exact same angle. So really deeply, if you're just doing the same thing, really what you're doing is you're just competing on price. I mean, yes, you can compete on some creatives maybe, but at the end of the day, if you're double the price, your competitors are just going to outbid you. They're just going to, your customers are going to see your competitor charging less and they're just going to buy from them instead. Why would they not? Because there's so many competitors. However, with this one, they can charge almost double because they've competed on an angle. They're not competing on a product. And so they then tailored that to the audience and they can charge way higher allowing them to unlock scale much quicker and much more consistently. But let me get this straight, right? The people making real money in dropshipping, they didn't get there in a week. However, if you just listen to somebody who has already done it for themselves, with the right approach, you can be scaling 1 to 2 months. That's a realistic time frame because that's what I've seen in the past. And what you need to understand is the bottleneck is never the model. Dropshipping has been around for ages, like 12 years, whatever it is. It's always the understanding. Understanding your customer better than they understand themselves is going to be your unfair advantage going forward in dropshipping. So make sure when you start your product, you start your store, that you do a bit of research. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to learn how we do this and you want to be a part of it, you want to build your brand in this way, just book a call down below, watch the video, and you'll be chatting with me.